Hey everybody, welcome back to Cinematic Headspace. It has been a while since I've released a video. I have finals and I am doing this anyway. I'm in the reindeer costume again, but I'm gonna wait to do the whole makeup or I maybe still look like a deer for the next review. But today we are going to start off the Christmas season with a positive review. I'm telling you guys about A Christmas Story Christmas, the long-awaited follow-up to A Christmas Story. And I have to say, before we get started, y'all are gonna get mad at me, but I was not the biggest fan in the world of the first movie. Okay, let me explain. It's not that I didn't like it, I don't know, it just didn't grab me like does some people. But I have to say, when this came out, especially after last year when the Home Alone movie came out, and we all know how that went, I had to admit, I was a little intrigued. So me and my family checked it out after Thanksgiving, and we actually enjoyed it. It's a contest right now to see which two of my not so good cameras has the best quality. Basically, the story takes place several decades after the first movie and is about Ralphie, now that he's an adult and it's Peter Billingsley playing him again, having to create the perfect Christmas after his father from the first movie unfortunately dies. He sums it up at the beginning as like, when you're a kid, you want the perfect Christmas gift. When you're an adult, you want Christmas to be perfect. And the movie follows his journey as he tries to create the perfect Christmas. Just gonna go with my computer's camera from now on. So first thing I want to talk about, the cast. They have Peter Billingsley back, as I said before, as Ralphie. Everybody else, down to the kid who licked a pole is here. Everyone except the mom. The mom was recast, but other than her, every kid, everybody is back. It's really, really neat to see them all as grown-ups because it's crazy to think about how these characters' lives have probably changed since the first movie, and we get to learn about Ralphie. We learn about even the bully. That was pretty neat. Spoiler alert. It kind of makes you wonder why, if no one was against making a sequel, they waited so long to make one in the first place, but I'm sure there's an explanation for that somewhere. The plot works about like the first movie does, where it's very loose, kind of filled with moments, if you will, that happen. In this one, Ralphie is a dad and he has two kids. He has a son and a daughter. And he, throughout the movie, tries to connect with both of them, fumbles along the way, but overall manages to create precious moments with both of them. And it's cute. He's married in this one too. We see his relationship with his wife, Sandy.
His wife's name rhymes with his brother's name. I don't know why that sticks out to me, but for some reason it does.
He's also trying to become an author. He has this apparently like 2,000 page book that he's trying to get published, which 2,000 pages and no one will publish it. Gee, I wonder why. Stephen King's books aren't that long. And he eventually has to write his father's obituary. It's difficult for him at first, but eventually he learns to just go with it and allow the words to take over or allow the feelings to. Gee, I wonder if it's going to turn out that the story he writes is going to be narration from the first movie. There's a lot of callbacks to the original. The first part of the movie is probably the slowest, most lacking portion of the movie. It's really after the halfway point, or really more or less towards the very end, that the movie starts to really pick up. Whew, alright, now would be a good time to start spoiling the crap out of this. Okay, so, if you ever felt a little bit like the kid who licked a pole and got his tongue frozen, got done dirty, his friends pretty much got out of that scot-free, no one really owned up that they did it, he gets a kid who dared him, or I'm sorry, Triple Dog dared him to do it back, so there's that. Randy, it feels very satisfying for some reason, knowing that he's no longer a little boy whose arms are always up like this every single time he goes to school. I don't know why. As I said, the dad is dead, and Ralphie is trying to make it a Christmas that they'll never forget because his mother makes him promise that that is what he's going to do. He even resorts to robbing his friend's bar. I mean, that's dedication right there. The movie has about the same vibes as the first one does, because just like in the original, there's Ralphie's voiceover narration. It's Peter Billingsley doing it this time. It kind of makes you wonder, like this movie, because narrated too, what this movie is, if the first movie is the short story that he publishes about his father. We get closure on the bully, and It's nice. They go through all the works to set up this movie like the original. And I'm not just talking about the story, the narration, all the stuff that I tell you about. I mean, the kids have bullies again. It doesn't take up too much time, but I guess the bullies in the first movies didn't really either. There's a scene in this one, like in the first movie, in which the kids are going to, see Santa and go up that slide. They made it look just like the first movie, except, of course, Ralphie is now going out to buy the presents while the kids are doing that. They'll set up a lot of scenes, just like scenes of the first movie, and then continue with an idea that's totally different, which, yeah, at first I was like, huh? But eventually I began to feel like that was kind of clever because it was really driving home that he's now trying to spend Christmas as an adult who has to plan things, take care of responsibilities, rather than a child who wants a BB gun. There are still fantasy sequences. There aren't as many, I'd say, as the first movie, but I don't know. I didn't really bother to count, but to me, it felt like there were less. The fantasy sequences actually worked pretty well because they did feel more like the things an adult would be scared of or want. The only one that did feel a little too childish, though, was this one at the beginning where him, his wife, and his kids are in like a Western. It kind of felt like they were trying to make that one too similar to the one particular fantasy sequence in the first movie where he's fantasizing about having a BB gun. I can already see a ton of people complaining that this movie had too much nostalgia bait, but personally, I honestly feel like I'm not against nostalgia bait, or nostalgia bait is not that big of a deal to me. I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem for most people, and I think that the movie has enough good qualities to stand out on its own. Sometimes I think about that when I think about these long awaited sequels, how years into the future it's going to be normal to watch a movie and then back to back watch it with another movie that came out like 40 years later and see this just massive jump in time. It's neat that we can do that. It really is. I don't want to make it sound like a bad thing. It is neat now that we know that there's no time limit for a sequel. Like, you can make a good sequel at any point, right? It's crazy to think about that sometimes. You know what I'm saying? How it's you watch the first movie and it takes place during a certain time period or it came out during a certain time period, and then the next day you watch a movie that takes place just 40 years later and you just think, where did all that time go? Overall, I thought it was an enjoyable experience. So I think if you enjoy the first movie, you'll definitely like this one. Now, I know I'm saying that as someone who doesn't exactly love the first movie, but personally, I think it captures the magic and the feel of the first movie and does a good job bringing it to a new story. And plus, there's no annoying pop culture references. That's pretty nice. Overall, I'd say I gave this an 8 out of 10. Definitely recommend. And yeah, that was all I have for today. If you like this video, please give this video a like and be sure to subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!